Hello and welcome to the Kimberley IT podcast, episode 26, episode 96.
26?
Yeah, I'm going backwards there. To be fair, and not a lot's happened, has there? So we haven't got much to talk about.
Well, a lot would have happened if it wasn't for Black Friday and Cyber Monday. So all the journos are just flogging products and whatnot for the last 2 weeks.
Yep. So you join myself, James Kimberley, and Carl Heath for episode 96. And it'll probably be a quick one, this one. We have got some news items, but as Carl said, there wasn't much going on in the last 2 weeks. In fact, we actually delayed this podcast from yesterday to today because we haven't got enough to talk about, and we still haven't got that much more to talk about either.
No, the news was definitely thin on the ground the last 2 weeks because of sales.
So we'll start off with what we normally do, what we've been up to. And we actually fired a client for the first time since 2017. We mentioned a bit about this in the previous podcast, but now they've gone. We're more free to talk about it. But so yesterday was their final day with us, and they're off to pastures new, maybe.
Yeah, well, they are off to pastures new. Yeah, they've decided to go with a different IT provider. There was a disagreement of opinion. We said one thing, they said another. I know for sure that the client was terrible at communicating, the owner of the business. He really was. He probably wouldn't agree with that, but he was, which made it very difficult, which then results in that person then saying, oh, you didn't deliver on what we wanted. And we go, well, that's because you didn't actually communicate in any way what you wanted. And it doesn't work. It doesn't work. And the people who worked in the company could not use a computer to save their life. They really couldn't. So it was a bad fit.
And they love tinkering with tech. So we constantly have devices not working because they've been in there, they've tinkered with it, or reassigned it elsewhere in the business and not let us know.
Yeah, I mean,
again, a communication thing.
They weren't a good fit for us. It looked like they were, but the leader of the business just didn't really want to invest what's required in that organization to make it work. It actually needed more investment. And that's not because I want someone to write us a big check. It did. He was trying to do it on a budget and keep everything real tight on the money. And actually, the company needed more. It needed better equipment and better management and better services. And it wasn't going to invest. And therefore, we couldn't deliver what he wanted.
Yeah, that money went.
Training for his team.
That money went towards award shows.
Yeah,
from the looks of it.
Yeah. I mean, those things, they all make a difference, James. You know, I've worked with enough customers in IT over the years I've done it in the career to see people who haven't invested money and then see them spend it. You know, show me their new Range Rover they've got and things like that. You know, I've seen money wasted, and you're just like, yeah. And yet you're running all this old servers as it used to be, you know, and that all needs doing. And you know, their personal priority isn't what you think it is. They have a different agenda.
Yeah. And
it means then as a provider, you can't do what you're supposed to do, what you want to do. You know, if your job as a provider is to say, I want to take as much money out of you and do as little work as possible, you know, that's my hidden agenda, then you know what? A bad client can sometimes work because you'll do nothing for them too. But if your motive is to actually improve their system and give them a better experience and invest in their business, then it doesn't. And that's what that was.
The offboarding went very smoothly. We actually know the other company they went to, and
yeah,
they were helping us out, so we were quite happy to give them all the information that they requested to move over, and they came back and they did compliment on how easy we'd made it for them to do the transition. The other IT company, and well, it's easy because you're doing us a favour. We don't want to work with them anymore. They don't want to work with us, so we'll make it as easy as possible for them to move out.
Yeah, yes, exactly. Some people, when you move, are very bitter because they don't want to lose their customer or they're annoyed about it. So we were fine with that.
Which we're currently experiencing, actually. We've got another client being on board.
Yeah, there was a bit of that going on, onboarding a new customer. The old IT company doesn't really want to let go.
Yes, yeah. And we've been shown some of the emails that have come through, and it's quite desperate from the other IT company trying to keep hold of this customer with what they'd sent across. We've got some contracts out there. I'm still waiting on one client to sign a contract, Carl. It's taking a long time. Hopefully they'll sign it shortly. They've had it for a couple of days.
Yeah, they've been slow at doing a lot of stuff, so I guess they're busy or whatever. They'll get there eventually.
And then I've got some blog posts that I'm working on. This is how bad the news is at the moment. I've got a couple of blog posts that I'm working on. One's about data and how it's kept in Google's data centers and stuff like that. And the other one is one that we're talking about is that a lot of business owners seem to think that a part-time user is less than a full-time user when it comes down to IT.
Yeah.
When actually they're the same, because even if they're only using the computer 1 day a week, they're still, bad people do not decide I'm not going to attack them on the days they're not in, sort of thing. So it's just explaining that actually it doesn't matter how often someone uses a computer or how infrequently they use it, they still need to have access to assistance and support all the time. We compare it to like the RAC or the AA. Just because your car didn't break down over the year doesn't mean you shouldn't have to then go, oh, can I have my money back? I didn't use your service for the year. The fact that
you
it
drive a
was
car
there.
once a week doesn't mean that it won't have a problem when you do.
Exactly. IT support is essentially insurance. It's insurance that you've got protection and you've got advice and guidance when you need it. And when you need it could be at any time.
Yeah.
That's what this blog post is that I'm working on anyway.
Okay. And I am doing more of my video, Office 95, a brief history.
Yeah. So you'll be able to see what it's like now. I imagine it's not much difference really to the current one where you work in a silo. And it's not collaborative or anything like that.
Yeah, I'm just enjoying the history of the stuff that I used to have to work with and things like that. One thing I am learning though, Jones, is while I'm working, I have YouTube on in the background. You know what? I was getting a little antsy about where I was getting some of the photos from because copyright issue, etc. You know what, James? I was watching a channel that is nothing but QI clips, right? And this person, if they've monetized it, I don't know how much money they must be making off it. So, to be honest, I'm not too worried about some photographs now that are in the public domain, to be honest.
Were they running ads on them? On the video?
I don't know because I run uBlock Origin, so I don't know.
Yeah.
So I suppose I should. So if someone's not monetizing a YouTube channel, then copyright doesn't exist?
Still exists, but
Yeah.
I think the difference is that you're not. You can prove that you're not doing it for your own profitable gain. You haven't got ads on there, and then the copyright holder basically has a couple of options. They can either have the video unlisted, have it removed, or they can have ads run against it that they make money from. So your video stays up, people can still watch it. Ads are run, but you don't get any cut from that ads. All that money goes to the copyright holder instead.
Well, the copyright holder of QI would be the BBC, so that wouldn't work.
Yeah, it's kind of weird with those ones. I don't know on the BBC ones, but actually that's not right because BBC has a commercial arm as well, and that's normally where their programs go to after they've been on them. After they've been created, they go off to BBC commercial.
Yeah, well, what I noted was watching YouTube is that copyright infringement is just, there is just ridiculous amounts of blatant copyright infringement. So where people are clearly, I can't imagine that this bonus round YouTube channel isn't doing this because that's all it is little 10-minute clips of TV shows, thousands of them.
Well, you never know. It might even be run by the BBC.
Well, I guess so. It could be, I suppose. Yeah. But yeah, so I've been doing my video and getting me clips, and it's a lot easier to get your images of old stuff when you don't have to worry too much. And I've get a lot of them off eBay, to be honest, which is not going to be an issue because they were personal photographs taken by someone selling a box.
Well, hopefully we don't get any strikes.
Well, if we did, we'd have an issue, but I don't think we will. I think it would be considered fair use anyway.
The only times I did a documentary many, many years ago for a friend where we went to the first A1 GP. That was it's like Formula One, but it was race of nations. So every team was like Team China, Team UK, Team America, and all that kind of stuff. Yeah. It only lasted about 2 seasons, I think, before it financially collapsed. But at one point, they had a fireworks display going on, and it was playing some famous band's music in the background. Someone like I can't remember the name of the band, but anyway. They put a copyright claim on my thing because the music, you could hear the music in the background of the fireworks, and I'm thinking that's a bit odd. That must be fair use. That must be fair use in that I'm clearly filming a fireworks display, and it just happens that there's music in the background too that you can't really hear properly anyway. And what they wanted at the time. This was when YouTube, you didn't have to have all these requirements to get advertising revenue. You could get advertising revenue on the video, and they wanted revenue in return. So they gave me 2 options: either let them run their ads and I get nothing in return, and then the music stays in place. Take the video down, or I could mute the music during the video. So I opted. I'm not going to share my revenue with you, so I opted to have the music muted because it didn't add anything. You still saw the fireworks. You didn't have any sound when the fireworks were going off. But it's just I thought that was very being, proper arses doing that. So it's.
I reckon a lot of the copyright infringement is audio. I think audio is very easy for it to be recognised. I think that's probably one of the major ones, is unauthorised music audio.
Yeah. I also stuff like on TV, because that's very easy to fingerprint as well.
Yeah, because you look at things like Shazam, those tools are so fast at detecting a song that I'm sure it's as easy for YouTube to do it too.
Some of the interesting ones that you'll see, way to tell how good YouTube's algorithms are picking up and fingerprinting stuff is fan videos about WWE wrestling and stuff like that, because they very rarely have clips in there that are very long, or if they do, they've been manipulated. So the clips look slightly different and stuff like that to hide it from the fingerprinting. And that shows actually how well YouTube's fingerprinting is, because you very rarely see copyrighted WWE wrestling videos online that aren't on the official channel.
Right, got you. Yeah. So that's kind of what we're doing at the moment.
Yeah. So that's a roundup. You're finishing that section for us.
Yeah.
Recap of new content. So I did 2 videos this time. So I did one on how to set Google Chat to open when your computer starts.
Yeah.
Because we had a blog about it, but we didn't actually have a video. And a client recently asked us a similar question. So okay, I need to make a video this week. It's my turn. So I just quickly did that video. Then the next one was how to request approval in Google Doc Sheets and Slides. So this is a new feature that's rolling out right now as we speak for Doc Sheets and Slides, and it allows a user to create a document, maybe it's a proposal or something like that, and they can send it to their line manager or line managers if they've got more than one for approval. And during that process, the document we recommend is locked, and that's a setting you should have, lock it, because it means that no one can make any changes during the process of you sending it for approval. If you leave it unlocked, someone can make a change. If you're a collaborator, another collaborator on the document can make a change while you send it off for approval. Then it has to be approved again. The approval system looks very good and works well, as you'll see in the video if you go on our YouTube channel where I've recorded how it works and the basics of it. And quite a few clients seem to be interested in it too, deploying that.
Yeah, they do actually. You're right. Yeah.
Well, some of the accountancy clients are interested in it for their, I guess, like end of year accounts. Once they've created them, be able to send it off to the client to approve it or reject it.
Yeah, it's a good one, the approvals. I think some people thought it probably wouldn't be that cool or be that useful, but I think it is.
It could even potentially replace something like Iris for accountants and stuff like that, where they upload it to that horrible Iris desktop thing where you go to approve and reject stuff anyway.
Well, we have to do that with our accounts. It doesn't use Iris, they use Sensor, but it's the same thing. I have to approve like the payroll and stuff like that, and it'd be much easier just to do it that way.
For Google Drive.
That's all I'm approving.
It's a very nice feature, and I've experimented with it a few times. So essentially, if you send it off for approval, and say there's more than one person that needs to approve it, say there's 3 people, all 3 of them have to approve it before you get an approval. If one of them rejects it, then it's rejected. So it's got some democracy in there, sort of. And there you can leave comments on what needs to be improved and updated on the document before you resend it for approval again. And it's all done via email notifications, basically, from what I can see, and the Google Drive bot in Google Chat, telling you what's going on with the document as you wait for its approval process to take place.
Yeah.
So I know clients are looking forward to that rolling out. So it'll be there within the next. It was 15 days rollout, so I imagine there's only like 7 or so week left now before they'll definitely all get it.
Yeah, it shouldn't be too long now.
So going into the news, I also mentioned that in the news about the new approval system, but no need to recap on that. So Alphabet, the parent company of Google, has introduced everyday robots.
Yes.
My Google Assistant is about to fire off because it's useless, and any time I say Google, it fires off all the time now.
Right.
These actually look more interesting than the Boston Dynamics ones, because the Boston Dynamics ones are highly complex devices that have to have programs put into them so they know what to do and how to react. These everyday robots train themselves, they learn themselves rather than having to be precisely programmed, such as to solve simple problems in the environment, like in this case, opening doors, but they're actually using the robots to go around and clean tables with a squidgy. So in the cafes and stuff like that. And it looks good because it's on a little base and it has a long pillar coming out of it with an arm attached to the top of it. which it then can swap over to do other jobs and stuff like that. So if you have a look on that link, got there, I'll put in the show notes as well. You'll see the robot.
It certainly looks a lot less scary than any Boston Dynamics robot. Boston Dynamics robots look like Attack of the Robots. This fella is quite cheeky and cute.
Less likely to kill you, this one.
Yeah, it certainly looks like if it was going to have a pop at you, you could push it over.
Or outrun it.
Yeah, one or the other. But yeah, it's squeegeeing a table and appears to be cleaning a window. Or is it opening a door? It's opening a door.
Yeah, it's opening a door in that GIF.
Yeah.
But yeah, they've got
I think it's a bit crap at opening the door. If it was opening the door towards it, but pushing open the door, it's going to have to go through the door. It's going to get in the way.
I think cleaning the table's good, and they've got 100 of them.
Yeah, cleaning the table in like a calf or something like that. Definitely, that's a winner. Cleaning up that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's got LiDAR and all that stuff to navigate around the world and work out what it's doing.
Yeah.
But clearly they're quite happy with it. They've got 100 of those going around in the offices.
I wonder what they want to do with them long term then.
You
never know.
Monetize them.
Yeah.
Monetize them. Get them working, get them cleaning places and stuff like that.
Don't they have things like that in China doing police work?
They do, but they're not like that. They're basically machines that go around and record what's going on, and they have a voice that they can tell people what to do and stuff like that.
Right. This is a bit smarter, isn't it? This is actually looking for things it can actively do.
Yeah, it looks like it. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. I could suppose empty bins as well. You could do that. Missing chairs. That's quite good. Go and get some chairs for a conference room.
Yeah, it's just a simple task, but it's the mundane task that a human can't be bothered with, or is too lazy to do.
Would you? It'd be quite fun in the office. Let it retidy the boardroom, then go in, move all the chairs out, just keep him working. Yeah,
I still think the best use for it is the cafe cleaning it, because the amount of times you go to a cafe and you sometimes have to sit down and wait for someone to come along to clean the table and stuff like that and wipe it down.
Yeah, for a busy cafe, it'd be great to have a robot to come and squeegee the table quickly. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. It'll be interesting how it works once if they ever return all their stuff to their offices. So the cafe is under full use, because I imagine the cafes
want to. That's clearly on Google's agenda.
We're only under 1/3 use at the moment, so it's easier for the robot to do what it needs to do. See how many feet it runs over. So everyone's returned.
Yeah.
The next story is a national security story, Carl. It's about MI6. It needs help from the tech sector to win the AI race, because China and Russia are panning it at the moment, absolutely destroying it. And it's Richard Moore, who's the new head of MI6. He said MI6 can no longer develop tools it needs in-house to counter hybrid, physical and virtual threats, and it really needs to team up with the tech sector to be able to do stuff. An example of that recently is where the UK spy agency has now signed a deal with Amazon Cloud to Amazon Web Services to host all their data and stuff on Amazon's cloud instead now, rather than having it internally and in-house. And more that's going to happen, having to outsource it, because they just cannot compete with the likes of China, who's massively ahead of everybody when it comes down to AI.
Yeah.
China has some advantages on its hands as well, in that it can I imagine the Chinese secret services don't have any restrictions on the type of data they can store and analyze.
That's where China's real advantage is coming anyway, in the fact that that's what it's utilized for a long time, is its ability as a totalitarian dictatorship underneath to really do what it wants. It's not hindered by human rights laws or whatever, ultimately.
And then you've got Russia, who's rapidly developing its hacking capabilities as well.
Yeah, Russia's just a bunch of crooks.
And you can't forget North Korea as well. I haven't mentioned North Korea there, but North Korea is very advanced when it comes down to hacking. They're definitely a superpower when it comes down to the virtual world, North Korea.
It seems interesting that the United States isn't really up there for some reason.
No.
I don't think it trusts its own citizens enough to do it.
There was an interesting chart, actually, that came out. I think I shared it with you a while back, and it was showing that the UK was actually number one when it came down to cyber security and cyber defenses and stuff like that.
Right.
Quite a few years. And then it flicked over, and it was China, Russia, and North Korea, and all that stuff at the top, while the UK and the US were just falling down the chart along with other Western countries.
Why do you think that is?
Why? Just like we've said, China has much more freedom to do and experiment and collect data. More people, they're also a completely different type of people. They're more willing to learn and get better at things. While in the UK, you happily have people who sit on the dole for years and years and years, not with any motivation, because there's all those fallbacks to protect them. North Korea, you have no choice. If you want to be,
Yeah, of course.
if you want food, you need to go to join the army and get into all that kind of stuff. Russia, again, because they have a lack of laws and the ability, as long as you're not attacking Russia, you're free to do whatever you want to do. So they've got a big hacking culture going on there as well.
What must be interesting in North Korea, right, is because most North Koreans are not told the truth about the rest of the world. They live in the bubble. They're not told the real deal. So there must be this elite collection of North Koreans who actually know the real deal. In order,
I think it's more than what you think. I think far more people do. It's just you can't leave the country
or talk about it.
Yeah. So if you live in Pyongyang, the capital of North Korea, you have a lot more freedoms than you do for people who live in the countryside and smaller cities. Especially if you're in the military, you have a lot more. The military is where you need to go if you want to survive. But going back onto that's what China's just way ahead when it comes down to general technology. Like WhatsApp is a very basic version of their equivalent of WeChat, which has way more features in it, payment systems, shopping, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They've just been leading the way. A great example is TikTok. That's Chinese, and that's just dominated. And that's essentially that's an offshoot of the Chinese version of TikTok, which I've forgotten what's called, but I've forgotten what it's called. But they've just been way advanced on technology for a long time, especially app development and software development.
Yes.
It's like I said, they don't have cash there. Everyone pays, or everyone already there is contactless, and they have been for a long time.
Yeah.
The next one is a facial recognition firm that might have a £17 million privacy fine by the ICO in the UK. So it's an Australian firm called Clearview AI, and it allows a user, for example, a police officer seeking to identify a suspect, to upload a photo of a face, and it matches it in a database of billions of images that it has essentially scraped from across the internet. So now on our website, we've got an About Us page. Yeah, it's got photos of you and me on there.
Yeah,
those photos will be inside that database because they've just scraped every single photo they can find on the public web, added it to their database. So if a police officer to upload a photo of you, Kyle, say you've been out in town somewhere, you got a bit happy, you did something a bit illegal, and you record on CCTV, they upload that photo to this database. It will recognize you as Kyle, and it will give them a link to the page that image was found on. So they go to the About Us page, and that's kind of easy to work out who you are. But you could have just been, as you know, you could have just been part of a mass surveillance that was taking place. Maybe you went to a football match, and now they know everything about you when you've done nothing wrong at all. And this is what they're getting fined for, because they've literally just ripped tons of personal data that's available on the open web. And the reason the ICO wants to fine them is because they said they failed to process the information of UK citizens fairly, failing to have a process in place to stop the data from being retained indefinitely, failing to have a lawful reason for collecting all this data, and failing to inform the people of the UK about what's happening to their data, their pictures. So Facebook, everyone has a profile picture on there. That's public there, and they've just been scraping all of that and putting it into a mass database, and then selling that data to law enforcement agencies. Yeah,
that's the issue there. Is who are they selling it to, and who's using it?
Yeah, and you have no control over it. You can't go to them and say, actually, I want my photo removed from your database.
Yeah, this is tricky stuff, because it is all out there. It's all on the publicly accessible web.
It's interesting because it seems to be these companies you haven't heard of, like Clearview AI, that's doing all this facial recognition. The big tech companies are sort of, it says in the article, have kind of withdrawn from facial recognition. So, for example, it's got Facebook in there, who, as of last year, said they were no longer using facial recognition technology to automatically tag people in photos and things like that anymore.
Yeah.
So the big tech seems to be pulling away from it because of all these questionable issues you have about data privacy and stuff like that.
Mm.
And it's just these random ones that you're finding, a bit like Cambridge Analytica and stuff like that. No companies you know about until the scandal takes place, but they've actually got your data.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. And of course, the police will be all over this kind of stuff.
Oh yeah, police love this kind of thing, especially as they don't need any warrants or anything for it at all. They can just stick a picture in and get the information they need.
Yes, that's exactly it. Yeah. Yeah.
And I suppose they can find more information about you as well, because they're looking at that photo anyway, and you may have that on a dating website or something like that that no one else knows about, and now the police know about that, and they know which way you're orientated and all that kind of stuff in advance too.
Well, yeah, it makes it very easy to do background check on you. Immediately can see what type of things you get up to, what type of person you might do very quickly from a photo and to identify who you are.
Instagram, where you go on holiday, what type of food you like, where you're, who you hang around with, that kind of stuff, what you drive. Basically reveals everything from one single photo.
Yeah.
So the next story is one that you stuck in called the NASA DART spacecraft.
Yes. This is what was in the late 1990s a series of films in which we went and blew up asteroids that were going to hit the Earth. Armageddon was one, Deep Impact was another, I think. Well, now it's happening for real. NASA are working out how they can send a projectile into space to deflect an asteroid that's on collision course with the Earth. And it's really not something that most of us sort of worry about on a daily basis, but actually some of the best scientists like Stephen Hawking have said that it's probably one of the most likely ways that we'll be extinct. Probably, you know, almost more likely than climate change, really, this one, is that we get twatted by a big asteroid. And that's the end of us. And when you have a look at the stats of some of the things that have hit the Earth in the past, a 20-kilometer asteroid is going to cause some serious grief, and did over Russia. If something in the realm of 100 to 1,000-kilometer wide asteroid hits us, it's game over.
It's interesting because you don't actually have to hit them that hard. You just have to hit them a tiny bit to knock them off their trajectory, because that equates.
Well, that's what NASA have worked on, is that rather than blowing the whole thing up into smithereens, which is a bit Hollywood, and just nudge it to bugger off a little bit. Might cause
you a bigger problem that you split a big one into two now.
Yeah. All you want to do is just deflect it somewhere else into space, out of the gravitational pull of the Earth, and that's fine. And that's what they're working on doing.
It's very interesting because there's stories about it and research about the importance of Jupiter. If Jupiter wasn't in our solar system, Earth would probably have been smashed to pieces by now. And that Jupiter's gravitational pull is so hard that it essentially is a deflector for the Earth.
Yeah.
And that it grabs a lot of meteorites and rocks coming towards us and knocks them off course, so they crash into the Earth.
Yeah, don't even get me started on where those that follow the concept of a man with a beard up in the sky and all this stuff's going on out there. You know what I mean? This is just it's ridiculous at times, isn't it, to even contemplate when we know full well now that there's a planet out there that's mentioned in the Bible, Jot, that saves us. So really, if you want to pray to someone up on high, pray to Jupiter. The Romans did. Not a bad idea, that one. But yeah.
It's always good to pray to something you can see. It kind of gives it a sense of authenticity.
Yeah, it's one of the first signs of empirical evidence there, is that you can see the thing. So yeah, NASA are doing their thing to protect us from being hit by an asteroid, which is good.
And then you've now got one about Zoom and
I put this one in to cheer you up. I thought you'd enjoy this one.
Well, to be fair, I had to go on a Zoom call a few days ago, and I refused initially, and then you insisted that I joined it, and it was the most terrible experience I've ever had in my life.
I insisted you join because I wanted the client, the new client, to see how bad it would be, and it was awful. It was the worst call I've ever been on.
You got kicked off, basically. You froze from about 90% of it, and then you started making owl noises.
It was so bad, and then straight afterwards we had a Google Meet call, and it was fine. And I knew it wasn't my internet connection because I was doing some ping tests during it, and it was all fine. It wasn't my CPU.
So during this call, you kind of, I don't know what happened. We just lost you completely. You were there, frozen, and every so often we'd hear because we carried on talking, and they'll be like, "Carl, going, can you hear me? Can you hear me?" And we're going to respond to you, and then you've got a doorbell that makes an owl noise. So for some reason it was picking up this owl noise. So I was chatting to the guy, and every so often the big word, black black screen with white words saying Kyle would come on the screen and an owl noise. And I was thinking, what's Kyle doing here? Is he just taking the piss now because it's so bad? And then you finally dropped you off in the end, but it was the most terrible experience at all. And the interesting thing was the client who's moving to us, they actually want to use Zoom because they said it was a good experience. But actually what we think it is that people are so used to Zoom not being a great experience that they actually think it is a good experience when it doesn't play up as much as it normally does.
Oh yeah, well that's entirely understandable. So many people with IT don't change their IT provider or don't get one because they just think, well, this is how it is. And then when you actually show them how it should be, they're like, wow, I didn't realize. And like, yeah, well, you didn't know. You've had it crap all your life, so you just thought crap was normal.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, Zoom's hopefully a flash in the pan now, and that's flash has gone out.
It's not looking too clever for them because the stats are suggesting now that they're growing at a rate less than before the pandemic when they weren't a known name, and that they've kind of reached market saturation in the small to medium business, i.e. people who don't want to pay. And the enterprise, it's not happening. No one's in. They don't have anything else to offer.
And with our help, we'll also help put them out of business in that you'll then go onto Google Meet and see how much better it is, and you'll never go back and use Zoom again and pay if you are paying for a license on Zoom.
Zoom really had the opportunity in the pandemic when everyone else was caught flat-footed, and they launched. They had the brand name. But you know what? I don't think they're going to. It looks like they're not capitalizing on it, and they're going to fall now because it's not enough. Yeah,
because they were talking about bringing out other suites of tools as well, Zoom were, but they've not launched anything.
And such a difficult market to get your foot into because Microsoft have got the brand name in that one. Google are next, and then after that, that's a really small space.
And both Microsoft and Google provide a better video call experience than Zoom.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah. So good news there. Zoom's on its. Looks like it's on its arse.
Yeah, well, we've even had some. We had one customer who loved Zoom and couldn't stand Google Meet, but they've now flipped as well.
Yep.
In the last 2 months, saying actually Google Meet is way better than Zoom and should have flipped earlier.
Yeah, for multiple reasons, Zoom isn't good, and it's going to get worse because I believe they're going to start showing adverts as well on the free tier. So
yeah, I saw that as well. So I guess you have to watch a video advert if we can join the meeting room or something like that.
That's kind of awful.
Kind of shows that the business model's not working.
And I love the fact they've done that because that makes you, as a free business person using Zoom, look dead cheap. Because now you've got to make your person watch a video before they can talk to you. That looks really shit.
Exactly. They're trying to basically bully people into you need to pay for a license. Yeah,
they're totally doing that. They're totally saying, right, you can have this then. But what will happen is people go, I'll leave then.
People will finally actually realize, these people who are using Zoom, that Microsoft Office comes with a video calling solution. Google Workspace comes with Google Meet. Why aren't I just using that instead? I'm already paying for it. I might as well use that and have a far better experience.
Yeah, because 95% of the people who are doing Zoom will already be paying for one or the other service yet. It's not that they won't have an Office suite. So that's not going to happen. So, yeah, whoever's leading Zoom's not really thought this out.
Yeah, it's a dying company.
Finally. I reckon so. Yeah.
Yeah, it will just go back to be one of the small players, the small video call players.
Yeah, it'll have a story, and there'll be a good podcast about it coming out, James. Some journal will be doing it now.
We've got a company whose parent company uses some weird video calling solution. I think it's a German one, and it's just like no one's ever heard of it. And I think that's what Zoom will be like. It'll just become one of these small players that just hangs around, makes a bit of revenue, because you get some companies that have weird IT departments decide to pick these random weird video calling solutions, and that's where the future of Zoom is.
Will it be as bad as that one that the BBC used?
Yeah, we've not actually gone on that. We've been told about it by a client who's been forced to use the BBC one for certain pitches that they're doing, and from the sounds of it, it sounds like it's the most terrible thing ever created.
I can't understand what goes on there. That this is the tool. We were asked to put and install this product so that a customer could talk to someone who was in the media, or was a media channel, or an interview, and the tool was so old. It was so old and weak, and it was rubbish. And then they were told this is what everyone uses at the BBC.
And that explains why the BBC is always wanting more money for their license, because they're.
And also now I know what goes on when they go on Radio 4. We've lost them there. I know what you've lost them.
Yeah.
It's
And the weird thing was,
determination.
he was telling us that it like holds 6 people at a time, but people can carry on joining. And if someone else joins, then someone gets kicked out. The next person to join, so just boot somebody off, so the 7th person can join to keep it at the number 6 users on there.
Maybe that's a video in the works. The worst video conferencing tool, top 10.
Yeah, the thing is, they keep it pretty quiet, and you can't actually. It's very hard to get onto it to actually be able to experience it and tell people what it's like.
Yeah, you can't just use this product. It's not freely available, so Zoom will still be at the top.
Yeah, for the BBC.
Yeah.
So that's it, really. We've got our recommendations next, and mine is, I've got 2. I've got Narcos Mexico series 3, the final series of Narcos Mexico.
You watched it all?
Yeah, I've watched every Narcos since they came out.
I haven't watched that one yet.
Yeah, another great series.
Good.
Great series. It has it's got like a side story on this one as well, which isn't anything to do with the main Narcos story, which kind of suggests that maybe they were running out of content, so they've made this other storyline up as well, which is based on fact, but it's probably a fictional story that they're telling, but based on something that actually happened and still happens at the moment. And then you've got Tiger King series 2 that's come out. Now, I watched the original Tiger King because that was just before the first ever lockdown we had. That's when they launched that, and that's why it became massive, because it was I think it was a week before lockdown was announced. The Tiger King original one was released.
Yeah.
So I ended up watching that, and that was that I enjoyed it. And series 2's come out, which I'm actually quite enjoying now. This one's focusing on Carol and what happened to her late husband.
Yeah, I've watched 3 episodes of season 2. I'm getting a bit lost. I'm getting a bit lost in this like gossip world of, it's just who said, he said, I said. It's like everybody trying to get their dollar out of this situation. And it's really bloody hard to follow. It's not really an interesting story like the first one for me. It's lots of, particularly that Jeff knobhead. He's such a dick.
Well, I don't think we've got onto that episode yet.
But you know, Jeff was the dickhead who wore the cap with the do-rag on.
Yeah.
Him. Well, he's in episode 3, he is.
He's episode 4, because I'm on episode
4.
3.
Okay,
yeah,
that's
so
it.
I haven't seen that yet.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and then you've got Manhunt, whatever Manhunt is.
Manhunt's ITV drama. It's probably been out for a while, but I was listening to an interview on Jeremy Vine with a police officer about portrayal of officers on television, and he said this Manhunt drama is probably the most realistic portrayal of police in the UK as a drama. Martin Clune's in it. It's an interesting drama. It tells the story of Levi Belfield, who's a serial killer in London, and the Night Stalker, who's a serial burglar and rapist in London. And it's a typical police drama, but it's really good. But what it does show you that you don't normally see is the internal politics of British police, and how police departments don't want to share information, and how other police officers will backstab other police officers for success.
So it's a drama. Is it a drama in the same style as Whitechapel when that came out?
It's it's like Line of Duty, but based on a real story written by the original officer.
Okay, I might watch that.
I like the politics part of it, and how you think the police should all be working for one cause, and they're not. They go against each other because
they never do. It's like the most reason why so many serial killers in America got away with it, because police weren't sharing information with one another.
Absolutely. Same with 9/11 and the CIA and the national security and FBI and all that. And it's the same stuff in the bloody Met and the Surrey police.
Yeah.
But it's good. It's really good.
That was a quick one. That was our podcast. But as we said, there's not much going on. So the next podcast we do in 2 weeks' time, I think we're going to do a recap of the year at Kimberley IT, like we did last year, Christmas last time.
Yes, because it's going to be mid-December, so that makes sense.
Yep, and also because there's not much news happening at the moment. It's the quiet season.
Yeah, now it's just more flogging more gadgets. So just all the tech news will just be gadgets.
Yeah, and Google's release cycle goes a bit quieter around about this time as well for new features in Workspace.
Yeah, Christmas just nobbles everything.
So that's it for this fortnight, and we'll speak to you again in 2 weeks' time.
Yeah,
Thanks for joining, Carl.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.